Yes, welcome. Maybe a good way to start, we got three of you here in the studio. If I could just ask you to start, Joffrey, with you, and then Steve, and then James, and just introduce yourselves so folks know your voice and just a little bit about how you got to music.
Sure. This is Joffrey here, and Laamar is my middle name if you're wondering how the band got its name. And yeah, I write the tunes and play some guitar and sing. And sitting next to me,
Steve Bosmans, playing guitar with Laamar. Been playing, I don't know, has it been a year? No.
I think about a year.
Maybe a year?
Yeah.
Getting there, so yeah, it's been fun. And then James.
I feel so far from this mic. James Taylor, the only James Taylor, play drums with Laamar. Started working on these songs with Joffrey a couple of years ago now, it feels like, and
COVID.
Yeah. Excited to be here.
Well, that kind of anticipates the next question. How did Laamar form?
Yeah, so in different ways, but in one way was a funny phone call that I made to James, I guess in 2021, and was like, James, I think I want to relaunch my singer-songwriter career, and would you help me in whatever way that might mean? James has a history of managing bands and venues and booking, and I was like, I've decided I'm ready to get back on that horse and perform again, but I need some emotional and other support to do it again. And James was like, yeah, I'm down. I'd love to do it, and sort of started from there, just getting together, chatting about what to do, and it actually started with recording kind of some demo tracks to kind of get things rolling. And so we did that. There was an awkward conversation where I finally asked James if he wanted to play drums in the band and not just be my informal career coach.
Is there a long pause before he answered, or what?
He was like, okay, thanks for finally getting around to asking. He'd pop in the question. And then, just sort of went from there. We went in the studio with Holly Hansen at Salon and tracked some tunes, I guess 9 tunes actually, just with guitar and vocals, and then kind of that was the catalyst to get things rolling. And we sort of did things in a weird order because we recorded a bunch before we really started playing shows. But sort of the backstory, I had a band previously called Just Postbellum when I lived in Brooklyn, and had done that for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Well, and if you could say just a little bit about that band too, because that's a unique.
Yeah, and that was the first band I had as far as singing and playing guitar and writing music. And so that project was focused around sort of historical narratives, sort of historical fiction, but exploring themes of the antebellum and postbellum America, which was a good crutch for a beginning singer-songwriter / guitar player, to sort of focus the work on something that wasn't about me, but things that were meaningful to me. And I think a helpful writing tool to sort of to explore songwriting in the form. And it was great. In Brooklyn, it was the time in which folk was having one of its many revivals or folk adjacent music. So it was fun to be sort of in the mix there and doing that. And then I moved back here in 2016 and had sort of stopped doing that. I hadn't stopped writing really, but it stopped pursuing this part of my musical career. And then COVID happened, and all the things that are happening around the city and in the United States around racial justice and police violence, and I've been writing about that for a few years, really since I left New York, or was leaving New York, and it felt like needing to make a contribution to that conversation, and for me that is music, and so that was kind of what got the ball rolling. Yeah.
It's an amazing contribution to it, because it's one of my favorite bands, Surly Girly. They have feminist songs with a message, but they are unabashedly feminist punk.
Yeah.
You play such melodic and such beautiful music, where I imagine there are people who listen to it, maybe the third time around, get all of the words.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the sugar. I don't know if I want to say sugar with medicine, but that kind
totally.
of, you do such a nice job of it.
Yeah, that's it's sort of become a running bit of banter, which Heather and you saw last night, of I'm learning to disarm people and say, hey, the music is nice to listen to, and that's great. You can enjoy the music on multiple levels. And I certainly have people come up after the show and like, oh, like I was just like enjoying the melodies, and then I realized like what I was like what you were saying, and that's a cool moment, I think, for an entryway to a conversation with people, because I know everyone's not like, I don't want to listen to social justice music as a genre is not like what I'm going to turn on, but really like music that sounds good and whatnot. It's a good way to start with folks. So yeah.
Well, I think such a great way to sneak into their mind.
Yeah.
To hear the message a few times before you listen to the message.
Yeah.
What do they say? You have to hear something 7 times before you believe it or buy it or whatever.
Totally.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the music. Would you all
do
us the favor of playing a song?
All right, that's what we're here to do too. We're going to play, first we'll play a song called My Kingdom. Try to play at least. How we gonna live if we can't stop dying? In the car, in the street, from the comfort of our beds. How we gonna keep them mamas from crying? With a knee on our neck or a bullet in our heads. You can turn a heart into a song, and you can turn a body to a husk, but you cannot erase our memory, though flowers eventually return to dust. My kingdom for a horse, and the whole world in a grain of sand. And they told me to do my worst. I'm doing the best that I can.
My Kingdom by Laamar,
Thank
who's
you.
in studio. Tell us about, I just love the idea of that because we all have days where my kingdom for a horse anytime.
Yep, yeah.
And you
yeah,
take it
know?
all, let me ride
Yeah.
away. So tell us a little bit about the song.
I sort of like set the stage with a series of questions, obviously, and it's really sort of exploring or stating, but how are Black people going to survive at a very basic level of like how are we going to survive before we can address all this sort of like inequities and injustice. How are we going to live another day and with these very basic sort of violations that we're experiencing, and then it sort of pivots to like how do you survive post injustice with the expectations of like society on you. That's where this sort of refrain of like just doing the best that I can comes from. And then just exploring wordsmithing and like trying to talk around the narrative in creative ways too. But
Well, and it's nice to give voice to that because kind of inherent in that is sometimes we're just busy putting dinner on the table.
Yeah.
You can't be worried about this, and this, and yet it's what you think about when you go to sleep. I can imagine. So that's.
Yeah, it's just like it's the just getting at the struggle of like living day to day, and I think that's kind of universal aside from like being an issue of race and inequality. Just like I like that phrase, like do your worst. People always say, and sort of the juxtaposition of like I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to do what I can.
Yeah. And so many of these songs actually seem to predate George Floyd murder.
Yeah.
So you have been doing this, as you said, for a number of years.
It's been I wrote the first like sort of think of like in the series of these songs, like right as I was leaving New York and Eric Garner happened actually, and was thinking about that, like I can't breathe. That's like when that that phrase became known. So it really started there, and then when I moved back shortly after Philando Castile was murdered, and so I wrote the next song, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling. And then this just sort of like pulls, the sort of the notable references of like the knee on the neck in our bed of thinking about Breonna Taylor, all these just little snippets that when you think about it, you're like, oh, I remember what that one was about. I remember what that one was about, and it sort of like adds up into this sort of cumulative effect.
Well, and I was going to say that adds up is the sad and scary part of it.
Yeah.
That we've become. So I think to
to
give it a new sound.
Yeah. You have to reduce it to these little clips, but you're like, oh wow, like you can just list off in a single verse, all these things which were hugely momentous for a moment before we was on to the next. So.
You should have conversations with people after every song. You do a lot more with that on stage. It's really interesting to hear so much of it.
Yeah, it'd be a long show. It'd be like 4 songs, and it'd be that 45-minute set.
VH1 storyteller.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
There's a time and place for some of that. Yeah. So that's, and you're kind of wondering. I feel like I should be asking you guys some questions too. I mean, how do you do it to me? They're both not in.
No, please don't.
Don't. Okay, that's fair.
No, it's fun. I mean, it would be fun. We don't talk about it too much as a band, although James and I are really, close friends, and James can speak for himself, but James is very well read on many things, including these issues. So we don't really have to talk about it because we're of a like mind. But by all means, James, whatever you'd like to say, mic is on.
I feel like it's a privilege to be asked to be a part of a band that has song content of that, and to trust. Yeah,
it's fun to be able to play with Joffrey and give him the space with, I think, to maybe speak for both Steve and myself, like to give him the space to where the words are coming across and not getting buried in like, hot licks or cool drum fills or something. Like, I think we both try to tastefully add our own, things to the song, but obviously the words are what hopefully people are there to see and hear.
Yeah, you never want to get in the way of the vocal, but in this case, it's even more true because Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And it has come up in practice, actually, talking about it, like, where Steve or James has been like, oh, well, I want to make sure people hear that part. We're going to, like, lay out here, or whatever it may be.
I suppose that does alter a lot how you lay out the music. Which comes first, the lyrics or the music?
Ooh, the age-old question.
Yeah.
You know, I think it can go both ways. Often it will start with like a line or two for me that I'm kind of like, that just, you know, comes from the ether. But I'm always kind of strumming things, and I think like putting the two together. But usually, yeah, it's like a chunk of the lyrics will come, or like a lyric to melody will come, often in the like endless iPhone recordings. And then, yeah, like letting the song take shape after that. Usually it's a struggle for me, like to write a bridge, especially. I have very few bridges because I don't understand like where they come from. But yeah, it's usually a verse and a chorus, and then it's like, okay, what like, I'm not thinking about what I wanted to say, but like what I wanted to say sort of came, and then it's like, okay, let's finish the thought through the rest of the song.
And do the songs come to the rest of the band as completed pieces, or do you work on them all then together a little bit?
They come as songs, more or less, sometimes needing something or another, and then I just play it. I'm like, here's where I'm at, and then, you know, Steve and James figure out what they want to do. It's been interesting recently. Really, this is me because I like write in a vacuum by myself, learning to collaborate and like let the songs go. Again, James and I have been chatting about like form a little bit, like, oh, like maybe move this part here. Just we had a show last night and we decided, oh, why don't we move the bridge to a part of the song that makes a little bit more sense? And I was like, oh, that's a good idea, you know. So I think as we continue to work together, yeah, you know, we'll find ways to collaborate. It's hard as a creative person, certainly with this work, to like steer away from like the original vision. But I'm learning like so many of the great like musicians and songwriters that I like that are working now. Like there is a collaborative element. Like use the strengths of the people that you're playing with to like give you guidance, and that's certainly helped in the last year with these two and a couple other folks we're playing with who have like great musical ideas or structural ideas that will help the song be better. So,
well, as you said, you kind of went through an unusual process where you recorded them before you really played a lot live. Yeah. Now, you sort of alluded to it last night. Yeah. Has the music changed? I mean, are you seeing more changes as you play live?
Definitely. I mean, the songs are just. I don't regret the way that we did it because I think I personally needed that as a catalyst to like get going. But even mixing the EP, being like, oh, like now that we're playing this song in front of people, like they're taking on a new life, and like we're like hearing where parts could like have different things happening. So certainly as we like think about going to record more, like bringing in a batch of songs that we've been playing already, even the newer tunes, will be a different experience. 'Cause yeah, they've just like evolved and changed and improved. In all these ways, from just like being a singer-songwriter, you know, tune that you play on your porch, to like, how do we deliver this to rooms of different sizes, you know, playing at the Turf Club last night, or playing at like the Entry, or playing at the Fine Line. Like we played it in rooms of a lot of different sizes now, and realizing like how the songs work in different spaces. And I keep joking with Steve, this is the first time I've had like a lead guitar player in a band with me, and so I'm learning to like play less, or just the pressure of like playing less. And Steve said something to me a while back. He like, oh, if you forget the chords, like just stop playing. I'll play the chords. Like I know the chords, you know. Just go along and like focus on singing, which has been really helpful to like sing into the songs better and like become a better singer of these songs, especially. And that's been really enjoyable. So I feel like certainly they've evolved in that way as I've learned to like really think about not just singing the lyrics and with the right melodies, but like extending the melodies, playing with melodies, like putting more like emotive feeling into them, and like letting the songs breathe in that way has been very cool.
I was going to say, when I spoke last night, your lyrics definitely pull many emotions from me every time that I hear you, and somebody else had said the same thing, and you're like, oh, yay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when you write if that's kind of on your mind to get that from response from people
It's funny. It's less with this project than I think it was with my last band. I mean, in part probably because I'm not dealing with fiction. You know, I mean, historic fiction, but fiction nonetheless, or like, you know, sort of building narratives off of history. I think I feel less like I need to do that now because the sort of occurs naturally in the song, that things are going to resonate with people. But still thinking about like, oh, there's going to be, if we're going to get like really quiet here, or there's going to be like some naturally sort of reflective or contemplative or emotive like sections. But I don't have as good of a sense of like, what are those moments that are really resonating with people as I used to with some of the old music where I'm like, oh, this will obviously like really resonate with someone because it's kind of this build up. So I should start polling people like, what are the tearjerker moments? Because it's like usually one person after each show is like, oh, I was crying at the, you know, at some point during the show, but I never ask at what point. So mental note for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point specifically were you crying?
What word?
Yeah, because there's a lot of you know, moments, but I think lyrics and melody resonate with people differently at different times and different days. And, there are certainly times like when I'm writing songs when like I tear up about a certain part that resonates with me, but I don't know if it's the same with other people. You know?
I was going to say merch you could sell as waterproof mascara at your table.
Yeah, tissues. I know. We need some better merch. Tissues, waterproof mascara,
Bucket hats.
bucket hats.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
bucket hats. That's on the short list for sure. But it is good that it resonates. It's you know, getting back to an earlier point. I think there's a few different experiences of the show, and they're starting to come together. But some people just really enjoy the music and like the vibe and the feeling and the energy, and other folks are like people that really like lyrics and listen to lyrics and in that way. And it's cool to like that people can have, you know, different experiences of it. I'm fine with it. I think sometimes people need permission to like just enjoy the music. Yeah.
Speaking of enjoying the music,
Yeah.
could we implore upon you to play another song?
Yeah. Let's do another song.
Thank you.
We'll do "Home to My Baby." That's the. Oh, my son is here. What's up, Ezzy? You want a hug? Okay, come over here. Get a hug while you can.
There you go.
I'm in studio with my oldest son, who is 3. What's your name? You gotta say so we can hear you. Is it Joe?
Joey?
All right, Joe. Gotta go. No, you're Ezra. Okay, you sit there. I'm gonna play a song. Okay? Can you hold my keys? But don't jingle them. This is "Home to My Baby," which is the single from our EP, Flower. Try to remember the chords. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This has a real vibey Steve intro.
Well, I mean, I don't have a.
We're gonna put you on the spot. No. I was driving real slow down a one-way street with the needle on empty, trying to make ends meet. I'm just trying to get home in one piece to my baby tonight. Got a little bit of grass in my front left pocket, a case of beer in the trunk. You need a key to unlock it. I'm just trying to get home in one piece to my baby tonight. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life? One wrong move away, and I'm just trying to get home in one piece to my baby. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life? One wrong move and a man might turn out your life. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life? One wrong move and a man might turn out your life. I'm not trying to just get by. I'm not trying to just survive. I'm just trying to live my life. I'm just trying to live. Comes back to the car. He keeps a hand by his side. He says, son, you seem nervous. You got something to hide. Said, I'm just trying to get home in one piece to my baby tonight. And he stares for a moment, says, have a nice day, tips his hat with a smile as he's walking away. And I'm just flying to get home in one piece to my baby. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life? One wrong move and a man might turn out your life. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life? One wrong move and a man might turn out your life. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life? One wrong move and a man might turn out your life. Isn't it strange how a minute might change your whole life?
Home to My Baby by Laamar. They're in studio on Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 FM in St. Paul. That is a song that I think is that's one that gets me, but also I think because of the melody of it, because it's so much of it, that more people will listen to this than would normally think about what it's like to be a black man driving at night.
Yeah.
You know, and I thank you for sharing the experience.
Yeah.
As I said, I think that's the penny drop in the, it's going to ripple.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's like it's illustrative of what we were saying. It's like a way in to the conversation with people through music, and you can hear it and then think about it. And yeah, it's really like it's not pulling from a specific experience for me, but sort of just a cumulative experience of myself, and I think many people of color, just like the criminalization of driving, of like any thing that could look suspicious. I'm glad to hear that the city is like not pulling people over for having their taillights out and whatnot anymore, because it's those types of experiences which become the catalyst or the entry for many of the things that have happened. So, yeah.
Well, and it sets up such an adversarial relationship.
Yeah,
Police.
it's built on fear, and it's
yeah.
fear. I had this conversation with someone else. Like, it's fear both ways. People, the police have been taught to fear all many citizens, but especially Black people. So they go into these interactions with fear, and Black people have then subsequently been traumatized, and now we're afraid. And then like history shows, when there's fear on both sides, like things just go poorly.
And that is the Philando Castile story, I think. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, to a T. And it's just hard. It's hard to see that. Like I'm sure that person, Zimmerman, did not wake up that day intending to do what he did, but I'm sure he went to work every day, being conditioned to think that like everyone he pulled over that looked a certain way was a criminal, and even if there's a child in the seat, still be prepared to shoot, so I can't imagine going to my job every day feeling like that.
No.
Either. So I want to have empathy there, because people at their core, most people are decent people, but you're taught to feel and perceive things a certain way, and I also talked about, or have talked with other folks about, learning to interact with the police, which is a privilege in itself, and something that I acknowledge that I have that other people of color don't have. I think if you grow up having certain experiences, like living in certain communities where you're like exposed to certain cultural expectations, or just like are more comfortable with white people or police officers, or just have an understanding of like how you're going to be perceived and how to sort of disarm the situation, that can also help. But at the end of the day, like, you have a right as a private citizen to like, carry a firearm and have a license for it. And if they ask to see your license, you need to be able to furnish that without being shot.
Well,
how do we fix that?
You should be able to drive.
And you be able to drive. Yeah.
It's even more basic than that. You should be able to walk down the street. You should be able to.
Yeah.
There's so many. Now, clearly, you have at least one child.
Yep.
Yep.
You're in the studio hanging out.
Seems like sharp cookie. How, has that altered the music that you're writing differently?
Yeah, I think Steve sitting next to me as a parent too. I think any parent, and becoming a parent opens up this other well of like empathy that you feel, and also fear, just in general, of like that something could happen to your kid. Obviously, like, Black parents think a lot about like how they send their kids into the world, and it's a thing in the Black community of like preparing them to like be in the world as a Black kid. My kids are mixed and very light skinned, so like I think about the difference that in their experience that other kids will have. And I live in North Minneapolis, and so there's kids of many shades. But that's a privilege that we have. But nonetheless, you're going to be perceived a certain way, and this was something that I was always cognizant of growing up. Like, how is my body being perceived in these spaces, often white spaces, and like always carrying that sort of awareness of like making sure to put a certain face forward, and like be non-threatening, and be like intuitive and like self-aware. And I don't want my kids to have to like think about that. I want them to just be kids and be safe. But yeah, you become a parent, and Steve, by all means, jump in. You're just like, you love it, and then you have these moments where your kid goes out, or like goes to school, and you like get a phone call from a number you don't know, and you're like, this happened to me the other day, and I'm like, oh, like it must be the school calling. Did something go wrong with my kid? Like, not that they got shot or something horrible, but did they get injured, or are they sick? But it's amazing. I do think like being a parent in terms of songwriting like opens up this well of feeling, and like there was certainly a period when we were pregnant with my first kid where like any like sappy thing that came up on Instagram, like feel good story, would just like have my eyes welling up, like, oh, that's so like emotional. Everything was like really sentimental, and it's not as bad as it was then, thankfully, because it was like I couldn't look at any G-rated like happy ending.
No kitties, no nothing.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you had a similar experience. Steve just had his second kid too, so we both have a kid under 1 and a kid over 3.
Yeah.
It's
a ride.
It's a ride. And you're not sleeping the way you ought to sleep.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
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 That's all.
It's
Just
wild.
wait till they're teenagers.
Right.
You'll be not
Yeah,
sleeping
not
again.
sleeping
Yeah,
for a different
yeah.
reason.
It'll all be worth it. Yeah, I've been joking. We had a show last night, and I got went to bed at like 12:30, and I knew I shouldn't have, and my 11-month-old decided to wake up at 4:30, and you're like, these are the stories that we'll tell later if we survive them right now.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
But it's also cool to bring your kids along in the journey, have them in the studio. That growing up, my dad's a drummer, and went to a lot of shows. I was telling James last night I schlepped a lot of drum gear for my dad back in the day, and I expect Ezra will carry an amp or something for me in the future, and then he'll have his own band someday.
Do you have that around your house a lot? A lot of the music.
A lot of music. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of music making. A lot of listening to music. Just playing, improvising, like having musical instruments out, to play with. Which is how I grew up. My dad's band practiced in my basement, so it was like there was always a drum set and a PA set up. Essentially, I played the saxophone at the time, let creativity come to you. I think my dad tried to force my siblings who were younger to follow in my footsteps and also want to be a musician, so they all rejected that future
Shut
very
it down.
firmly once they were, allowed to quit their instruments in high school. But yeah.
So no family band
No family
practice
band.
when
My
you
dad really wanted the next Jackson 5, but there's only the Wilson 2. Yeah.
I'm always jealous of those who grew up with music. We each had to take 1 year of something with Sister Zita.
Yeah,
None of us sing
that was it.
or play instruments or nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's great. I mean, I'm always meeting people. Even last night, I had a conversation with someone after the show. It's like, oh, I wish I could play an instrument. I'm like, you still can.
Turns out.
Like, what are you, 30? Like, I didn't start playing guitar till I was 24, 25. Like, as long as your goal is not to become, the next master of your instrument, world renowned, you can play and find joy for however many years you have left.
That's good.
Yeah.
Would you like to play one more song?
Yeah.
Would you please play one more song?
We would love to. Let's do you want to do Ghosts, Steve?
It's been a while. Let's do it.
All right, let the record state that I'm putting Steve on the spot with this song. We moved the bridge to somewhere that it ought to have been before.
We made the song right.
We made the song make sense. Yeah, I
Fixed it
never
for
write a
you.
song with structure in mind. I just write the song, and then they're usually like, "That's interesting." One verse, chorus, a bridge, and then 3 verses after until the end. Anyway, I feel like I'm living on a knife's edge. You just stick around, see what happens next. Maybe you're amused, or just a masochist. Maybe you're the blade, just the sheath for it. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. Mornings I put all my dreams on paper, write them down so I can live them later. Later when I lose imagination, later when I need an invocation. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. You see ghosts in every room you walk in. Turn out all the lights and they start talking at once. Squeeze your eyes closed, try to keep my body in bed. Standing in the corner with a sheet over my head. Something coming over me.
skeletons in all my closets. At nights I take them dancing in the city. And I have secrets I haven't yet thought of. I dress them up in diamonds to feel pretty. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. Something coming over me. I waited by the phone. I thought I heard you call. The summer turned to fall. The flowers start to fade, like all young precious things. Then winter turns to spring. The moons they wax and wane, go steady like the pain of nothing left to hide. And night is no reprieve. The cascading of leaves is only a disguise. The ebb and flow of tides. Monday morning, calling sick to work again. Watch the shadows creep across the window ledge. Boil the water, grind the coffee, pour the cream. Run the shower, cloud the windows up with steam. I'm stepping over cracks in all the pavement seam. I'm trying to leave no tracks, 'cause I'm erasing me. All the pictures that you put my face and see. All the memories that I've been defacing, see. Something coming over me. 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 Something coming over me.
Ghosts
you.
by Laamar in studio performance. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that song. I love the imagery of the skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, that
Dancing.
song's fun. It's a little bit of an outlier thematically. Every like 10 songs I indulge in like writing a song that's about other stuff, and in which case it's sort of like somewhat autobiographical / like pulling on just like other things I really enjoy writing, and sort of like with a lot of imagery, I guess singer-songwritery, like in the vein of Bob Dylan, with a lot of metaphor and stuff, and excessive lyrics. But yeah, I think this was kind of like came during COVID, like in therapy and like processing a lot of time, really, like before living in Minneapolis. So somewhat about myself, somewhat about just like the experience I think a lot of folks are having during COVID, and dealing with like lots of feelings and isolation, and rehashing old wounds / harms, and just like putting it in a pretty song, and it feels really good. An outlier in terms of like some of the other themes, but like experimenting with like writing things that are personal, which as a songwriter like I avoided for a long time. Although I sometimes I write these songs and I'm like, oh, I thought that wasn't about me, but it's kind of about me and kind of about other people. So fun to do, every now and then. Like I try to, it's like, I think my previous band started because I really didn't want to write about myself and didn't have anything to say personally. But perhaps therapy and like relationships, you're like, okay, like I'm comfortable with seeing myself and naming things and experiences. And so yeah, this is a song for that, just to like visit some of those.
The imagery is gorgeous in it. So much of it, you know, defacing models and
yeah, good to play with words with that.
it's good.
Love doing. Yeah.
Tell us about any shows where people can see you coming up.
Yeah, so next show, August 4th, at the Turf Club, opening for Sunny War, which I'm really excited about. She's kind of blowing up these days and touring nationally. So I'll be playing a solo set for that show. Sunny's great. If you don't know her music, you should check her out. Black woman making great music. And then we're playing the 11th full band at the Green Room, opening for Alina Mayra. And that show is with General B and the Wiz and Clay Fulton.
on that? Yeah, Clay Fulton.
Clay Fulton. Anyone else? I
No.
feel like it's another 4. Oh, that's before.
bands.
Yeah. And then James can talk about this, but I'm playing at the State Fair.
That's true. The First Avenue goes to the fair with Al Church and the congregation backing you up on Friday of Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so First Avenue's been doing shows at the State Fair for the last few years, and Joffrey got asked to do that one.
Yeah. That'll be fun. Sing a couple songs with the amazing Al Church backing band. Powderhorn Porch Fest in September.
Nice.
Ooh.
That'll be fun. Never even been to that, but it sounds fun. Anything with porch and fest in it sounds good to me. And I think we haven't confirmed, but I think we are going to confirm a date at the Dakota beginning of October with us and Lanu. So stay tuned for that.
Oh,
too.
very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. That'll be a nice.
Yeah. Excited to get Sarah down. Lots of parents then, new
Right?
parents especially. So yeah, a bunch of shows coming up. If you want to follow Laamar Music on Instagram, you can kind of hear what's happening.
I know about it.
Yeah.
Well, Joffrey, Steve, James, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, too, for coming out to so many shows, by the way. Let it go without saying. Heather's been especially hounding me for at least, I was going to say hounding, I should see patiently
Years.
waiting for years in between responses for my emails to schedule this.
I don't give up.
Yeah, she doesn't give up, so thank you. Yeah.
Email me.
Yeah. Email James. Anyone listening, if you want anything to happen, email James.
Oh no,
jealous.
James.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
All right. What have you got coming next?
We have Rank Strangers. Good night.
Great band.
Yeah.